Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the continuation of our foray into the crazy world that is Pro Wrestling 2600. These available for your listening pleasure. This is the Raw review for April 4th, 2022. 5-minute WrestleMania 38 video package. Cody Rhodes starts things. People are chanting for Rhodes in the beginning. He acknowledges the cheer, hits the crowd, continues to cheer, and they chant welcome back at him. So then he asks what people want to talk about. He says it's been 47 days since he became a free agent, and he's heard all kinds of stories about himself. People thought it'd be hard for him to return, but he said it's not. He mentioned that he signed a multi-year deal. Crowd chanted, "You deserve it." I don't know why he deserves it, but anyway, Rhodes said any doubters he had exited on Saturday when he rose through the stage and defeated one of the best in the business, Seth Rollins. Cody pointed out to the Tron in September 26, 1977. Cody choked up and said that wasn't just his dad, that's his hero. Crowd chanted for Dusty Rhodes, as well they should. Cody mentioned that Dusty is holding the same belt that Hulk Hogan, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and many others had held. And then the same belt that was on his mantle until the very last day. And when he was still young, he asked his dad, "I didn't know you were champion, like Hulk Hogan." Dusty explained to young Cody that that he did not take home the championship belt that night because he won by countout. An 8-year-old Cody knew that he wanted what he wanted to do. He wanted to win the championship belt. He wanted to place it in the hands of Dusty Rhodes and tell him that nobody can take it away from him. Cody admitted that his dream died, the opportunity passed, or did it? Cody knew he couldn't put the belt on the hands of the American Dream, but he could put it around the waist of the American Nightmare. The crowd chanted, "You can do it," and that's pretty cool. Rhodes then, Rhodes made his intentions clear. He's ready. He's finally ready. He's going to do it for his family, for himself, for the fans, and for the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Seth Rollins interrupts. He comes out in a pink suit. Cody dropped the mic and offered a handshake. Rollins laughed, shook his hand, and said, "Welcome home." Random graphic during the match plugging Dolph Ziggler versus Braun Breaker for the NXT title tonight, even though it didn't happen tonight. Non-title match, tag team champions, women's tag team champions Sasha and Naomi defeat Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. 9:01, not a bad match, but Ripley gives Naomi a delayed vertical suplex early, lasting 20 or 30 seconds. Both teams exchange dives. Naomi comes out back in control. Ripley is in control following the commercial break. Naomi comes back with a disaster kick. Isn't that someone else's move now? Anyway, they both tag out, and Banks gives Morgan a meteor for near fall. Morgan then follows her off and uses a double team powerbomb for near fall. Naomi then chucks Ripley from the ring, and before she and Banks uses the combo, Glam Slam Codebreaker finisher on Morgan for the pinfall victory. Frustrated Ripley walks out on Morgan after the match. Kevin Owens' music hits, and he enters as Ripley leaves. Kevin Owens comes out and does the return of Elias. Owens admits his plans for Steve Austin might not have worked out the way he planned. He said it was still great, and you had to be great to be one of the greatest ever to step in the ring with himself. Owens then tricks Austin into wrestling again, but he may have tricked himself because he had a bit of a bad back going into the match. Owens hurt his back lifting weights the day before, and you could tell it by the way he walked to the ring. Owens then said he should have gone home, but WWE fans needed him to be there and needed for him to go. Then we see the return of Elias, who now is calling himself Ezekiel. He's a clean-shaven fellow this time with long hair. He wears trunks and wrestling boots. Anyway, Owens squinted and said Elias, and the crowd laughs. Ezekiel responds by saying he's not Elias. He's Elias' younger brother. The crowd sings at Elias, but it doesn't happen. Owens then said he hated liars, and Elias said he must hate himself because he lied to Austin. And he got stunned. The crowd chanted, "You got stunned" at Owens. Said he never liked Elias, and he likes him even less now. Owens told Eric to get the heck out of his ring. Owens counted down from 10, but Elias didn't budge. And then he marches out. And this wasn't too terribly bad. Anyway, The Miz defeats Dominic Mysterio with Rey Mysterio 31 seconds, winning clean with a skull-crushing finale in 31 seconds. Anyway, that's just no. Anyhow, Veer enters after the match and attacks the Mysterios. Veer then comes in and lays them both out. Dominic taps out wildly in a camel clutch. Then we go to the second hour beginning, Bianca Belair promo. Bianca thanks the fans. She removes the shades to reveal a black eye. She said she stood here tonight and said, and says she has sight out of one eye, but wanted to thank Becky Lynch for that because she lost at SummerSlam. She realized how much better she could be. She also learned how quickly it could be taken away from her. Belair didn't cheat or injure her opponent to get what she wanted. Lynch did everything she could to take her out and then targeted her eye, but Lynch tried. She couldn't get it done. She couldn't overcome it all. The fans come to expect more from their champion, so she became better in herself. Belair didn't cheat or injure her opponent, but then got what she wanted. Lynch did everything she could to take her out and targeted her eye, but no matter what Lynch tried, she couldn't get it done. She said no woman in the back had what it takes to beat her because after Saturday she was even better. She suggested Lynch use the downtime to find out exactly who she was, with or without the belt, and there we go. Braun Breaker video package here. Braun Breaker defeats Dolph Ziggler with Robert Roode to win the NXT Championship in 10:02. Why is the NXT Championship happening on a Raw segment? Anyway, so Ziggler slaps Braun before the match. Braun uses suplex early on. Ziggler outsmarts him, takes him in control. Bunch of trash talks. Braun avoids a kick and counters leapfrog into a decent-looking body slam. Ziggler then reigned control after dropping Braun on the top rope and remained in control through the commercial break. Ziggler then goes for a famouser, but Braun continues into a powerbomb and counters. Braun then follows up with a running shoulder tackle and an overhead suplex and a clothesline. Roode pops on the apron and then distracts Ziggler using Schoolboy for 2 count. Braun then wipes things out and then wipes out Roode with a flip dive. Ziggler hits him with a famouser in the back in the ring for 2 count. Ziggler then rakes Braun's eyes, hits a super kick for near fall. Braun follows up with a military press power slam for the pinfall, and he is your new NXT champion. Bobby Lashley MVP segment. MVP puts Lashley over, says he even managed to do it without him. He introduces Lashley. Crowd's happy with this. Almost interrupts. Almost didn't bother grabbing a mic to tell Lashley he wanted a rematch. Almost and Lashley stared at each other. MVP suddenly decks Lashley from behind. MVP hammers away on Lashley and smacks him. He directed Almost to beat him up. Almost then continues the attack. Crowd chants that the MVP sucks and hits a running boot in the corner and goes after Almost. Anyway, Morgan approaches Ripley in the back. Ripley said she spoke to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville and convinced them to let them team up in a tag match next week. Morgan is happy to hear that, and she made up how Ripley acted earlier. Ripley thanked Morgan for being on her side and looked forward to winning the titles next week. Queen Talina and Carmella defeats Natalia and Shayna Baszler. The match doesn't end up actually happening. Zelina blamed Carmella for their title loss at WrestleMania. She said Carmella is too preoccupied with herself and called Corey Graves a fool for being with her. Zelina did say Graves was handsome, so maybe there's a love storyline coming there. Oh joy. Carmella blows it off and said nobody cared that she won the Queen's crown. Carmella then said if Zelina wanted to go at her wedding, she could be the flower girl. Zelina attacks Carmella and escapes the ring into Graves' lap. Zelina then yanks her down before leaving. Graves helps Carmella up and they make out. This is just pointless. Anyway, Video recap of Pat McCaffrey and Austin Theory, Vince McMahon, Steve Austin segment at WrestleMania. This was very good. Anyhow, the Usos approached Theory in the back. They mock him for being a chosen one after the performance at Mania. Theory fires up and tells him he planned on dropping Finn Balor tonight. The Usos seemed satisfied. Six-man tag team Austin Theory and SmackDown champion Usos defeated the U.S. champion Finn Balor and Raw champions Randy Orton and Riddle. Heels work over Riddle through the break until Orton makes a hot tag. Theory tags himself in and drops Orton, but Balor tags himself in, gets Theory in a headlock, elbow drop, and everyone trades moves until Theory pins Balor again with the ATL. Edge and Damian Priest come out for their segment. Edge enters alone. He calls himself an honest man. He said AJ Styles would face his Judgment Day, and he did, but then he didn't expect Damian Priest to appear. For years, Priest tried to satisfy the sheep just like him. The crowd chanted, "We are sheep," and then either way, Edge called them idiots for proving him right. Edge introduced Priest. Priest said that he'd lost a few weeks leading up to Mania. The crowd chanted, "We don't care." Priest said that there was a time that would have bothered him, but not anymore. Priest then tries to please them, and then changed when he heard that Edge's message from a few weeks ago. Priest then said Edge's message for AJ Styles, but then sounds like those words were for him. Edge noted that Priest turned heel on the same night that he did. He didn't use those words, but that was the basic idea. Edge knew Styles would keep coming. Edge issues a warning to Styles when his music hits. Styles then enters and fights off Priest and sends him over the barricade. Styles posted Edge and grabs two chairs. Styles then sets up a concerto, but Priest decks him. Edge and Priest laid out Styles, and then they're about to give him a concerto, but a bunch of officials run down and break him up. The crowd chants for Jamie Noble, who was among the officials. And then Alpha Academy attacked the Street Profits before their match could start. Adam Pearce enters and says that if these four men want to fight all at once, they should have asked him. And then Texas Tornado match here in Dallas. Street Profits, Alpha Academy, 8:22. Street Profits get a win. Montez Ford does a dive with the turnbuckle to the outside. Alpha Academy takes control. Anyway, and then remains in control through the break. Otis grabs table, and the crowd chanted for the table. They set up Angelo Dawkins for the Vader Bomb, but he manages to escape. Chad Gable tries giving Ford a superplex through the table, but Ford pushes him off, and Dawkins knocks Gable into the table, and Ford nails Frog Splash through the table for the pinfall win. AJ Styles, Damian Priest, Naomi, and Sasha Banks versus Ripley and Morgan for the tag team titles, Veer and Rey Mysterio, all next week. We close with Roman Reigns in a promo segment. Why we close with promos, I don't really know. Reigns then enters with Paul Heyman and the Usos. Reigns held up both belts, and he's acknowledging his left arm is in pain. Reigns had Heyman speak about the Bloodline's success. Heyman attributed WWE's biggest revenue year to Roman Reigns. He ran down a few of the other stats and attributed them to Roman as well. Crowd sings along every time he said Roman's name, and Heyman handed Reigns the mic. Crowd chanted for him. Reigns then called himself the Needle Mover because he's constantly operating in God mode. Reigns then calls the shots, and he delivered. He said he'd smash Brock Lesnar, and he did. Reigns then said the other men would hang their hats on that, but he was moving on because he was Progressive Tribal Chief. He said he would find out what's next on SmackDown. That's it, and we close the show. Weird way to close the WrestleMania after, or the Raw after WrestleMania for sure. We'll be back with more right after this.